I never thought Rammstein would release a greatest hits album, but here it is. Of the bands that I listened to in high school, Rammstein is one of the very few that are still together, still making good music, and still innovating without getting lame. And they're one of the few bands at all that are still doing interesting things. This is in large part due to some of the videos that Jonas Ackerland has directed for them. Not that anybody in the mainstream media outside of Germany seems to care, however. You know the mainstream music scene is in a pretty sad and boring state when a band releases a video consisting almost entirely of the band members doing hardcore porn is released, and nobody seems to notice. These guys have been able to both stick to a formula that is somewhat consistent and still be able to innovate in ways that keeps things interesting and keeps things fresh. And their lyrics, their lyrics. If only fundamentalist Christians in the States could speak German. We need a band that can attract Christian protesters again. Remember those days when Christians used to picket Manson concerts? That was awesome, but nobody does that shit anymore. Maybe if Rammstein started playing Big Dich live again, maybe people would get a little bit more excited, but they haven't played that since like 2001 or 2002. Probably because one of the last times they played it in the States they had to spend the night in jail and were fined like $50 or something. But because they stay interesting, because their music seems to get better with every album, these guys I think are probably my favorite band out there right now. I first started listening to Rammstein when the Lost Highway soundtrack came out back in like 1997. Just about everybody I knew had this soundtrack, despite the fact that very few of us had ever actually seen the movie. Most of my friends at that time were goth kids, and this soundtrack was produced by Trent Reznor, so of course we all went out and bought it. It was the Frampton Comes Alive for goths in the late 90s. And I've even seen Rammstein live a couple of times, and I have to say that of all of the bands I've ever seen live, Rammstein is the best. The first time that I saw them live was like back in '05 in this town in the south of France called Nîmes, and it was in this like 2,000-year-old Roman amphitheater. It was sort of an outdoor concert, and if any of you have the Fulkerball DVD, that whole concert is on there. In my wallet I still have a couple of pieces of the red, white, and blue confetti that they blew everywhere when they played America, which is also on this greatest hits album. This comes in 2 CDs, one with their more memorable songs and the other one with remixes. If you're a giant Rammstein fan and you already have all of their singles, you will probably also already have all of these remixes. It also contains 3 DVDs with all of their videos plus behind the scenes making of stuff. And of course to promote it, they added one new previously unreleased song, Mindland, which in my opinion is not their strongest single. The lyrics are kind of lame, and in my opinion, vocally, Till kind of phoned it in on this one. But the video is hilarious. So if you're not already a hardcore Rammstein fan like I am, this is a great place to start.